Your Psychic Powers and How to Develop Them by Hereward Carrington. Chapter 6. The Health of Mediums and Psychics. The health, bodily, mentally, and spiritually, of mediums is a very important factor in all mediumistic and psychic development, far more so than is usually realized. In the first place, we have a certain amount of bodily energy in order to accomplish anything we desire in life, and this energy comes largely from physical health. Mediums have found to their cost that the production of phenomena, especially of the physical order, is at times a very exhausting process, and unless they keep themselves in good bodily health, they discover that they become run down and nervously exhausted, in which case they render themselves subject to insomnia, depressing mental emotions, and if this gets worse, to obsession and even greater dangers and difficulties. It is very important, therefore, for all mediums to keep up their physical health. A healthy brain. The mind of man depends largely upon the condition of his brain, and if this is not rested, freshened, and supplied in abundance with rich, healthy blood, his mental life suffers in consequence, for we know that any poisonous substance, mixed with the blood, immediately affects the mind by circulating through the delicate substance of the brain. The tiny nerve cells all over the body, which are the storehouses of energy, may be compared to a number of tiny cups, which we fill with energy every night during sleep and more or less empty every day. Our duty is to keep these little cups brimful, and if we allow them to become too emptied so that nothing is left, we run into danger of nervous exhaustion, neurasthenia, etc. The first thing which the medium must pay attention to is, therefore, the state of his physical health, and the following rules will be found helpful by all those who wish to attain this condition. Deep breathing exercises. In the first place, a certain number of deep breathing exercises should be taken every day. These serve to keep the lungs active and to massage the internal organs. But deep breathing exercises have a more potent and far-reaching effect than this. There is a peculiar life-giving property in fresh air, and if we do not breathe this fully, we never live as completely and receive as large a supply of the vital and magnetic currents of the universe as we otherwise would. If any one doubts this, he has but to stand erect and take half a dozen deep breathing exercises as directed below, and he will feel energized from top to toe. The way to take these breathing exercises so as to get the best results is as follows. 1. How to breathe. Stand before an open window or out of doors, free from all restrictive clothing. Before beginning, exhale forcibly, bending the body forward and relaxing the muscles. Place both open hands over the abdomen. Now breathe as deeply as possible against these hands, expanding the abdomen as much as possible without allowing the chest or ribs to expand in the least. In other words, breathe with abdomen only. After you have done this 5 or 6 times, place both your hands against your ribs on either side. Now breathe in deeply, pressing out the ribs, but without allowing either the abdomen or the upper chest to expand. After you have done this 5 or 6 times, place your hands on the upper chest just below the neck and breathe with this portion of the lungs without allowing either the ribs or the abdomen to expand. At first you will find it very difficult to control your breathing, limiting it to these parts of the lungs, but this will come with practice, and it will be shown later in Chapter 41 how important these breathing exercises are when the psychic side of the breathing exercises is understood. The Psychic Complete Breath. After you have mastered these 3 separate steps, you will be enabled to take what is known as a complete breath. That is, one which expands first the abdomen, then the ribs, then the upper chest. You should by this time have such control over your breathing that you are enabled to do this in 3 distinct stages, or merge them together into one as you wish. In all these breathing exercises, the back of the nasal passage should be relaxed, and you should breathe through the nose, never the mouth, as though you were smelling a flower. If you do this and relax inwardly, you will find that the air strikes the back of the throat before it is felt at all, and you will never notice the air in the nose itself. Practice this every day until you become proficient. The best way to ensure this is to close the lips while keeping the teeth separated, then throw down the under portion of the jaw. Developing exercises. 2. A certain amount of exercise should be taken each day. The particular character of exercise, which will be found beneficial for the maintenance of health, also for development of psychic and mediumistic gifts, are those which develop the vitality of the inner organs about the waistline. Bending exercises of all kinds are especially useful. Large muscles are not required for good health, but energy and endurance are. The following 4 exercises will be found very helpful in this connection. A. Stand erect, raising both arms over the head as far as possible. Raise yourself on your toes and, at the same time, stretch upwards with the fingertips as far as you can, as though trying to lengthen yourself. B. Stand as before, arms raised over the head. Now bend forward and try to touch the floor with your fingertips without bending the knees. Again, raise yourself up to a standing position very rapidly. This is a well-known but very useful exercise. C. Stand as in exercise B and bend the body sideways from the waist as far as possible. First to the left, then to the right. Make this motion as rapid as you can. D. Stand as before and bend slowly, trying to touch the floor with the fingers. As you do this, take in a deep breath. The purpose of this exercise is to compress the liver from above and below at the same time, and this massage will prove very helpful. Health hints. Other points to be observed in maintaining good health are the following. 1. Eat as little red meat as you can, since this is acknowledged by all to retard psychic development. 2. Eat a certain amount of fruit every day, not in addition to other food, but in place of it. Acid fruits are particularly beneficial in nearly all cases. 3. Drink at least a quart of water each day. 4. Accustom the body to cool baths. It is best to begin these in the summertime and continue them in the winter. 5. Wear as little clothing as you can, consistent with warmth. The skin breathes as well as the lungs, and free circulation of air on the surface is essential. The powers of the mind. We now come to the mental factor. Few realize how important this is in the development of psychic gifts. If the mind be depressed, worried, scattered, and unable to concentrate upon any definite thing, good results can hardly be hoped for in any way of psychic development. Many psychics can obtain good results for individual sitters, but as soon as they make a public appearance, they fail more or less completely. We can hardly doubt that the reason for this is their apprehension for the results, fear they will not succeed, etc. This prevents all free communication. It shuts the doors of the soul, as it were, against any outside influences. In order to be receptive and sensitive, we must have a free mind and give ourselves up wholly to those forces and vibrations which play upon us. If you watch yourself, you will find that your body tends to contract all over as soon as you think certain thoughts, or experience certain emotions, such as jealousy, hatred, envy, etc. On the other hand, as soon as you send out thoughts of friendship, love, sympathy, etc., you find that your whole being expands and relaxes. If this is true of the muscles of the body, how much more true it is of the muscles of the soul, if I may so express it. The imagination, it has been said, is the lungs of the spiritual life, and in order to have free play, they must be unrestricted, just as our physical lungs are. The essence of psychic development is this complete surrender and quiescence, and until this is ensured, full development can hardly be expected. There is such a thing as spiritual contraction. We have all heard of the man with the ingrowing conscience. This means simply that this man is dwarfed, contracted, and unsympathetic in his attitude to all that he meets. Gentleness and cheerfulness, said Robert Louis Stevenson, are the perfect duties, and we cannot do better than advise the medium to follow this motto in his daily life. Psychic contagion. These influences which are harmful in ourselves are harmful when experienced in others, and they are contagious to a remarkable degree. All experienced spiritualists know that a medium is liable to take on the conditions of a spirit or of another person when in a sensitive state, and this is true of his mental and spiritual life as well as his physical health. We can acquire the other's irritable disposition, his sourness and lack of balance, for the time being, just as easily as we can acquire other symptoms. And unless this is recognized and the medium takes care to throw off these influences, they are liable to remain with him more or less and influence him, just as we sometimes experience the after-influence of a bad dream in the daytime. How to choose a good developing medium. The practical conclusion to be drawn from all this is that it is very dangerous to the mental and moral health of a psychic to develop under the guidance of a medium who is mentally, morally, physically, or spiritually ill. for these conditions will possibly sooner or later be taken on, and they are liable to influence the medium to his own detriment. Be most careful, therefore, in selecting the psychic under whom you develop, for your own future progress and happiness will depend largely upon that. End of Chapter 6. Recording by Lisa Phelps Gonzalez, Minneapolis, Minnesota.